Okay, good morning everybody. I'm going to be speaking in English today. I'm Phil Saunders and I'm a Jew who grew up in London and now lives in Tzur Hadassah in Israel, halfway between Jerusalem and Bet Shemesh, and right next to the Green Line. And for the last 10 years I've been one of the leaders of a coexistence project between Israelis and Palestinians in that area, which has proved very successful and robust, so much so that in May 2021, when there were very big problems all over the land, it was notable that the Israelis and Palestinians in our area managed to get along just fine, unlike the Jews and Arabs living in mixed cities like Lod and Akko. And so many questions started being asked about why is our model working, and we won the IIE Victor Goldberg Prize in 2021 for having been so robust. And I'm not an academic, but if I were, I might be looking at two particular features. One is that it may be that in our area we have the optimal level perhaps of proximity where we can be involved in economics in a symbiosis which is win-win, but we're also just distant enough that we can preserve our identities. And the other possible element to analyze is the fact that we seem to have a very interesting triangular dynamic. I live in Tzur Hadassah, which is west of the Green Line, and I would say we represent perhaps the Israeli identity. So on Yom Ha'atzmaut, you'll see huge Israeli flags celebrating Israel's Independence Day. And just on the other side of the Green Line is Beitar Elit, a large ultra-Orthodox settlement. And you will not see Israeli flags in there at all. You see Jewish symbolism, and I would say that they represent the Jewish identity more than the Israeli identity. And from that lens, when I look at the judicial reform that's happening, I see it's effectively exposed a rift that's always been there within Jewish Israelis, this perhaps conflict between two very important identities that we have, the Jewish identity and the Israeli identity, which has been brought to the surface. But in our area, we also have a town, a Palestinian town, Muslim, named Hussan. I won't go into too much details about the project itself because tomorrow afternoon Ziad and Orit are going to be talking about the specifics of that project. But what I can see in our area and how it relates to federalism is that we have a triangle of three very important identities: Israeli, Jewish, and Palestinian. And there seems to be a very interesting dynamic that because there's 3 points of this triangle, we're not stuck in the usual one against the other. And sometimes, for example, the Palestinians are sometimes the bridge between Tzur Hadassah and Beitar Elit. The relations are different. For example, Hussan and Beitar Elit get on principally for economic reasons or for interfaith, whereas Tzur Hadassah and Hussan have relations that are more based on cultural or political discussions. And recently, a Palestinian restaurant has initiated a project called Chulant Sheikh, where it's a Palestinian restaurant inviting all the Israelis in the area to come and eat traditional Jewish food. And suddenly, we have all the ultra-Orthodox and the seculars and the religious Zionists and everybody, okay, all in one place, and some very interesting discussions are happening. So this reality of a triangle that seems to succeed very well in our area brought me to start thinking about the possibility of a federal solution for the land overall, and that brought me into discussions with federalist partners such as Gidon, who just spoke, and Yoel from the Abrahamic Movement, and Emmanuel from the Federation Movement, and there are many others. And this led in time to bringing the Path of Hope and Peace project under the organization Challenge, which is an organization for conflict transformation connected to the theories that are well versed around the world, and to see about implementing them in this land in a tailor-made fashion. I have experience on the ground of a kind of testing proof of concept, and Challenge then decided to create a project called the Federal Forum, where we invited our Federalist friends to begin working together, and that's been very successful. We are now working together, and I would say now this presents an opportunity today that there are a lot of people here representing the Land for All Confederation model, and from what I've learnt in my area, I think it may be more complicated than simply a two-in-one problem, although it is very important to say that there are two peoples who love one homeland, but it's also the case that it seems that the peoples themselves are quite fractured internally, and that's what we're seeing with the crisis of the judicial reform on the Israeli side. But I think the Palestinians also don't seem to be too keen about being centrally governed from Ramallah. And so some kind of regionalisation of autonomies does seem to be beneficial to give all of us, we are many different tribes, but at the same time, we do want to keep the fact that there are two peoples. And so if confederation is a two-in-one paradigm and federation is a many-in-one paradigm, then perhaps what we actually need is a many-in-two-in-one paradigm where we work together and create something that is hybrid. It would be something special and unique for this land, but we are a very unique land with very unique needs. And I think if we open up a conversation which hasn't really started yet, then I think some very important things could happen. So I hope that conversation now moves forward, and just say thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. The federal model hasn't really been detailed here, but I would just, as a political scientist, I'd like to highlight the difference between a federal and a confederal movement that are normally not that far in terms of the reality on the ground, but officially, de jure, in a federal state, there is one sovereign. There's one sovereign body that allocates authority, powers to subunits, whereas a confederal process is the opposite. There are several sovereign units that allocate powers upwards, say like the European Union or other examples in the past. So this is